Hi guys, good evening. Welcome to our live stream. My name is Karan Vaid. We have a very special guest today. We have conservation ecologist and conservation photographer Latika Nath. She's also an award-winning photographer and an author. Thank you so much for taking your time and being here with us. Latika, can you tell us a little bit about about yourself and what exactly you do?
Okay, so I'm a conservation biologist or an ecologist. Started off with studying elephants. I studied human-elephant conflict in the Rajaji area,
Okay.
and later followed this up with a doctorate on tigers. Since then,
Okay.
I've been doing some work on human-wildlife conflict and
Uh-huh.
studying different aspects of this with different species throughout the subcontinent for over 2 decades now.
Wow. Wow. So, Latika, after reading, a lot of people know you. You're very famous. You're known as the Tiger Princess of India.
Uh-huh.
Let's start off right at that. How did you get that moniker, and tell us about how that came about?
Okay, so I was doing my doctorate with the University of Oxford on tigers,
Okay.
and I was leading this dual life, which I continue to lead, which is between the cities and with the who's who of society, and then picking up, packing up, going into khakis and going into the field and living for months there without meeting anyone. Those days
Uh-huh.
there wasn't even mobile phones or any connectivity, and I'd really be out in the field. So
Yeah.
the National Geographic was totally fascinated by this dual life that I was leading,
Uh-huh.
and the connections with the royal background and all of that. So I got the title of the Tiger Princess of India, and they also loved the story that I was the first Indian to be doing a doctorate purely on tigers,
Yeah.
and of course, therefore, the first woman.
So, I read up a little bit about that. You rightly said you're one of the first Indians to
Mm-hmm.
actually focus your studies, specialize in tigers in the subcontinent or in
Uh-huh.
India. Can you tell us about how that came about? Because it's a very interesting story you have told.
Okay. So I was always interested in wildlife, and like I told you, I'd done a master's on elephant conservation.
Uh
And
huh.
at the time that I was planning to do my doctorate, I was actually very keen on studying snow leopards
Uh
and
huh.
high altitude animals in Kashmir.
Uh
My
huh.
grandparents lived in Srinagar, and
Okay.
Dachigam was somewhere where I had spent much of my childhood.
Okay.
But the year that this was all about to happen, the terrorist movement started.
Uh huh. Uh huh.
And the terrorists,
Just to sorry to interrupt. This is 1987, 89 is when this
yes,
happened. Yeah.
yes, yeah.
Okay.
Actually, earlier as well, much earlier.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm talking about 91, 92, 91.
No, I
Okay,
meant 87, 87, 89 is usually
yeah,
when
you said
it went
98.
through its troubles.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I'm
okay.
talking about 91. Is
91 is when you started.
Yeah, yeah. And so 91, the terrorists actually attacked the house. They killed 7 of our staff. They injured 2 others. And they
Wow.
used incendiary bombs and burnt the house down. And then the
Wow.
whole family was under threat.
Uh-huh.
So
Wow.
we couldn't possibly think of doing anything in Kashmir anymore. So I suddenly had no PhD subject and I was wondering what I'm going to do. And
Uh-huh.
then at that time, Dr. H.S. Pawar, who was the head of the Wildlife Institute of India, turned
Uh-huh.
around and said, nobody's ever done a pure doctorate on tigers. So why
Uh-huh.
don't you take up the challenge? Are you really up to it? It's going to be quite a struggle. And would you like to do this? So I said, of course. And that's how the whole thing happened.
Okay, wow, that's very interesting. So, just to touch briefly about a little bit of your childhood,
Mhm.
your father was Professor Lalit Nath, and he was the head
Yeah,
of AIMS. He also set up the Wildlife Institute of India in
that's,
Dehradun.
that's right. He was one of the people on the governing body who
Uh-huh.
actually helped with the whole setup of the thing and designing it and the concept and all of that. So he was very
Wow.
involved in that. Besides, so
Uh-huh.
he wore two hats, conservation and medicine.
So you spent a lot of time in that institute. I would imagine growing up as a child, you would go visit the area a lot, Dehradun, and you would spend your time there.
The institute came up just before when I was doing my master's, so
Okay.
not really childhood at all. And I did part of my fieldwork with the Wildlife Institute before the campus was made. This was
Uh-huh.
actually when it was situated in the Forest Research Institute, and they had
That,
a rented house in Vasant Vihar in Dehradun.
wow, wow.
So
Wow, yeah,
I,
and you said you started in Rajaji National Park, right?
that's
Uh,
right.
that's
Yeah.
close by. This is right close to Dehradun, I believe.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it was still close by, and also, I mean, it's one
Yes.
of my favorite places, Radhaji. We like driving, my wife and I, whenever we're doing a road trips around North India, we spend a
Yeah.
lot of time driving through, and we take slightly longer excursions instead of going to Dehradun via the normal route. We take go via Chandigarh, and we take a ride and we go into Radhaji, and it's beautiful. It's one of our favorite road trips. But it's good. It's a beautiful part of India.
Yes.
Tell me, you are you were one of the first people, as we already discussed. But you, as being a woman in, obviously, I would imagine in a male-dominated field, what was it like that in the 90s and the 80s, late 80s, early mid 90s?
So my mom has this favorite story.
Uh-huh.
I went to Bandhavgarh. I drove down in a friend's jeep from Delhi to Bandhavgarh.
Uh-huh.
And those days there were no mobile phone, no connectivity. So my mother got really frantic, and she said, "You can't go alone. You have to take someone with you." So she sent
Uh-huh.
my uncle with me. So there was
Wow.
my Aya and there was me in this borrowed gypsy across India. It was strange times, and then Bandhavgarh was just a blip on the map. There was just nobody and nothing there. I arrived there, and she arrived hot on my heels like a week later to see whether I was dead or alive and how I was doing. And the park director looked at her and said, "Madam, what am I supposed to do with her?" So my mom looked at him and said, "What do you mean?" He said, "No, normally the people come from these, the BNHS or the Wildlife Institute or one of these places, and they're these young men, and they have 3 pairs of jeans and a little backpack, and I put them into some forest rest house, and it's all okay. What do I do with the daughter? Where do I put her? How do I ensure that she's safe?" And I was really a petite person at that, and driving the gypsy, most people would only see my hat behind the steering wheel. They wouldn't even be able to see the rest of me. So it was quite an experience in those days, and people didn't know how to handle me and what to do with me.
That's fantastic, great. I mean, I mean, all the respect to you to undertake such a endeavor at that time. We need more people like you, Latika. Tell me, what attracted you to big cats versus other animals which exist in India and abroad?
Okay, so I think I've grown up around animals. My first visit to the forest was when I was 3 months old, according to my parents. And being an only child, I spent most of my childhood surrounded with animals. I had dogs and I had cats, and I had, was always interested in the birds that were landing in the garden. And we had an elephant, and we had the farm, of course, with all the animals and everything happening.
Yeah.
And then when I was 4 years old, my father went to Nepal, and we went to Chitwan National Park, where Tiger Tops had joined hands with the Smithsonian team, and Dr. Charles McDougall was there, and they were studying tigers. And at that time, they had got this beautiful photograph of a tiger on using a camera trap, which was one of the first at that time. And I grew up with that poster on my wall. And that was, the fascination. And then, of course, I had always seen big cats in the wild because we went out so much. And the love just grew. And I think it was just something that I was meant to do. It's the one thing that I just totally feel was the right reason for my living. It's
brilliant. You serve as an inspiration to so many women and men today. You're so well known in the fraternity. We have a question here by Sandeep. I guess I know the answer to this. It's Latika ma'am, have you ever encountered a live tiger? Uh,
Few, Sandeep, a few. I just lived with them for 5 years. I actually lived with them for 5 years when
wow,
I was
wow.
doing my doctorate.
So you would be like they would be all around. I mean, you would be in the forest,
Yes,
and you would be surrounded by them. Like yeah,
yes,
you'd be quite up close and personal with tigers and other animals. The tigers
yes,
are not the only animals in the
yes,
jungle. There's some
absolutely.
other wild animals there which can be quite a handful. Uh,
Yes.
uh, Tell me, you also, and we're gonna, guys, as we move forward into this discussion today, Latika has graciously agreed to show some of her beautiful photographs. Before we do that, and guys, please stay tuned for that. Before we show Latika's beautiful photographs, can you tell us what was this journey? I mean, you're an animal conservationist, a biologist. How did photography happen?
So my dad, my grandfather, my father, my uncles all took photographs. So it's something that you just saw happening around you all the time.
Uh-huh.
And I, of course, was very fortunate because I grew up and I had met all of these amazing conservationists and filmmakers. And then I had seen them make these wonderful films as I was growing up.
Uh-huh.
Uh, Photography really became more serious when I started doing my doctorate
Okay.
because I had the opportunity. I was in the jungles for 5 years, almost
Uh-huh.
continuously,
Uh-huh.
and I used cameras to record behavior.
Okay.
So I sort of became trained at that point to
Okay.
take photographs only of unusual behavior.
Okay.
Certain amount of portraits you took because they were just beautiful, but those
Absolutely.
were not the ones that you really went back to and looked at. You showed
Yeah.
them to people. People liked them and they were great as screensavers, but that was it.
Uh-huh.
You know,
I
every photograph had a behavior in it, and that told a story. And that
uh-huh.
is what led to my conservation photography passion, because every photograph tells a story.
I completely agree, and we're just going to show your portfolio imminent. It's imminent. We'll just show it because everyone will be waiting for that. Before I do show it, you have traveled a lot. I read somewhere that you traveled to over 50 countries. Um, so your portfolio shows that. I mean, it's beautiful moments from your travels. So, do you have anything like what are your favorite countries besides India? Because you like the tiger, but besides India, what would be some of your favorite countries to photograph in?
So, it's not so much about favorite country, favorite national park.
Uh
It's
huh.
about what you want to photograph and who you want to meet.
Uh
If
huh.
I want to meet a polar bear, I can't do it in Africa.
No, you
If I
cannot.
want to photograph a cheetah, I can't do it in South America.
No, you cannot. Yeah.
So it's not about favorite country, favorite thing. It's nature is just so amazing and it's there in every corner, every little portion of our planet. So it's just about what you want to do and where you want to be at that time. Or if
Uh-huh.
you have the eyes to see what
Uh-huh.
nature is trying to show you wherever you are.
We before we show your portfolio, we have Malvika Duras. She's asking a good question. She says, "I myself am a crazy animal lover. Unfortunately, I don't know how to get into a career related to wildlife."
Okay, I'm reading it. Malvika, would you drop me an email and we can chat? My email is latika@latikanath.com. So drop
Okay.
me an email and we can chat and we can connect.
Okay, we'll have that email for here shortly. So I
Mm.
think Malvika is specifically asking for her daughter, and which is
Yes,
fantastic. And
yes.
it's a great opportunity, guys. Please ask questions. We know Malvika has done so. I am happy to take those questions, and Latika is here.
Mm.
This is a great opportunity. We don't have animal conservationists on our channel every day. So please ask our questions. We have Pushpa Thakur who also wants to know career opportunities in animal conservation. Before we go again to the portfolio, everyone is waiting. Can you just talk about some just from the top of your head, some opportunities in animal conservation.
Sure. So I want to say right in the beginning that animal conservation is not a field where you make quick money. Okay,
Uh-huh.
this is not going to happen. But there's the chance to lead a life where you stay in some of the most amazing places. You get the chance to really be in the outdoors and to make a difference. It's a career for people with passion. It's not a career where you're just doing a job because you need to do a 9-to-5 job.
Absolutely.
So if you feel you have the passion and you really want to do it, then there's lots to do. You can work in the fields of pure academics, so you can do wildlife research, you can do photography and filmmaking, you can be in tourism, you can work with communities. There's a lot of work and a lot of opportunities. There's also lots of opportunity to work in the field of law, because we need good lawyers to defend us when the situations arise. So environmental law is a great field to be in. Environmental economics is of great importance. And you can literally work today for sustainable development from almost every area of life, which may or may not be directly connected to animals, but is definitely connected to their habitat and the world we live in.
I think these are fantastic points, especially in light of the kind of deforestation rise which are happening. I won't really speak too much about them. Especially in the central part of India, I think more and more people need to focus their attention on that. Maybe we don't need so much coal production, but that's all that we'll talk about that right now. Before we move on, we have a lot of people asking questions, and let's take some of them on. The first one is asked by Rana, who wants to know about your cat. So we have a cat over here. We have not one cat. Latika has, I'm privy to some of the animals around Latika right now.
I can see one, but I can't see the other. Okay, so this is a Himalayan ragdoll called Pablo. And he's, Pablo, and he's only 9 months old.
Wow, look at Pablo. And Pablo, and you also have Pablo's daughter.
No, Pablo's friend.
Pablo.
Not the same litter. Different litter, and she's called Paloma.
Paloma. Yeah, Pablo and Paloma around you. Latika, for people, for the rest of the people who don't know, where exactly are you right now?
Udaipur. I'm in Udaipur.
What is happening? You have been caught under lockdown in a very beautiful property or next to a lake because of your. This is some of the perks of your career, I would imagine. You're in a beautiful property, helping out with what in Udaipur right now?
So no, actually, we're at Udaipur because Vikram is the GM of the Leela Palace here, and we moved to Udaipur one day before the lockdown. And I got really lucky because somehow I attract cats. And this beautiful leopard with 2 cubs who's been walking around the lake. And we've actually been seeing her pug marks and footprints. And she's been about almost 3 weeks ago, she was in City Palace, and they actually tranquilized her and removed her and released her again to safety. And she's doing well, and she's all around here, and it's really beautiful. So I've been doing a lot of talks and helping people to calm down and deal with living with a leopard, and how to react and what to do, especially for all the hotel staff in it.
Wow. So, I mean, it's happenstance that something like that has happened there. A leopard has followed you, probably followed you because they know they're in good company. And,
I kept telling them, you have a leopard on the property, and they kept saying, how do you know? Have you seen it? Have you got photographs? How can you prove it? And then suddenly somebody from a neighboring hotel says, oh, we've got photographs of the leopard. And we started seeing pug marks everywhere. So it was very cool.
So I believe, correct me if I'm wrong. We spent a lot of time, my wife and I, and as a child, I would go with my folks also, who are actually tuning into this right now. I would travel with them to the jungle as well with my mother, and I remember seeing a leopard is slightly more difficult than actually seeing a tiger in the jungle. They're very, very elusive, and the fact that you have a leopard around you and you've been able to spot one, or the staff have been able to spot one, is rare. we had my wife and I had different luck when we were in Pench in 2017-16. We tried to see tigers, and we did. We went to Pench twice, and we didn't see tigers, but we happened to see a leopard just walk across the road, which we thought was beautiful, which for us was a fantastic. It was like, it was the highlight of our trip. So can you speak a little bit about my wife is asking, which is your favorite animal? Big cat. I guess it's the snow leopard, I would imagine, or what?
My favorite big cat, tigers,
Yeah.
has to be,
Right.
no?
No,
But whichever one I meet, I fall in love with. I mean, I just recently met 17 puma in Chile, and
Wow.
I have not met cats like that. What an experience that was, life-changing. But more on that later. I mean, it's the first snow leopard. I cried when I saw my first cheetah. Just tears of happiness at actually seeing the magic of a cheetah in real life. So, I mean, I can't really say.
Where in Africa did you see your cheetah?
I've seen them all over now, but the first one I saw was in Tanzania.
Tanzania. Oh wow. Wow. So before we answer more questions, guys, hold on to your questions. Wait for a while. Let's go through Latika's portfolio. She'll take us through them. Quickly take us through some of her well-known photographs, and let's see where she took them. Just please bear with me, guys, as I put this on. There you go. This is slide number 2. Okay, there you go. So can you tell us what we're looking at, Latika?
So this is a puma called Rupestre, and she has 4 cubs, and they're super affectionate. And this one had just run up to her mom, and they were giving each other a big hug.
So this is a puma. What part of the world is this taken in this photograph?
Chile, Patagonia, and this is only about 180 kilometers from Antarctica. So super high terrain and very, very cold. It was near -15 at the time.
Wow, that's beautiful. And Latika, I remember you were saying that the puma was one of the last big cats on your list to photograph.
The last species that I hadn't seen at all. Yeah, it was.
Wow. And this was taken last year, I believe.
This is last year in August.
And you said Chile.
Chile.
Wow, beautiful. Take us through this photograph. This is snow leopard, I believe.
Snow leopard in Ladakh.
Snow leopard in Ladakh. I've been to Ladakh a few times. I think you have to go usually in February or something to catch one in the lower regions of Ladakh, I believe. Would I be correct to assume that?
So my story on the snow leopards is quite crazy, but this one actually came 15 minutes away from my hotel in Leh.
Oh wow! And what is happening in front? There's a bird flying into your photograph. So
so it's a Eurasian magpie, and it actually caught the magpie.
Wow! Oh, it caught the magpie.
It caught the magpie.
Yeah, beautiful photograph.
Thank you.
Look at this. It's a chimpanzee.
It's a chimpanzee, and this is a very special one for me. I won an award for this picture, and this fellow was very new, very little newborn baby, and it hadn't even got a name. And this was actually taken on Jane Goodall's 80th birthday, because we had gone to the park to celebrate her birthday in Gombe, in Tanzania. And it's an amazing, amazing time. Such memories with that picture.
So you have, for a lot of people, Jane Goodall is like the god of big ape and chimpanzee conservation. So I grew up in the 80s and the 90s watching movies about Jane Goodall, and used to get the Nat Geo video cassettes, and I used to watch that. And it's very good to know people who have met, I'm just, what I am today. I'm just one person removed from Jane Goodall. Can you imagine? Wow. Fantastic photograph. Wow, look at this.
So this is Rupestre with her 4 cubs.
I think this is going to be my favorite photograph, Latika. This is so pretty. Fantastic. My wife and I have a reason to go to Chile right now. We had been planning in 2014.
I'll connect you. The minute time is right, you can go.
What is the right time to go to Chile? I guess the seasons are reversed over there.
Post-COVID is the time to go to Chile.
Yeah.
Oh,
We, we
the
have a
only
lot of, yeah, we have a lot of destinations on our list.
yeah, me too.
What a beautiful photo.
My next dream is Siberian tigers.
Siberian tigers. Wow. We'll talk
Okay,
about that. But tell me about this. You corrected me on this. Please tell us the audience about this as well.
so this is the rarest wolf in the world. It's the
Uh-huh.
Ethiopian wolf, and unfortunately, less than 300 individuals exist.
Uh,
They live in very special high altitude uh, alpine habitat, and
uh-huh.
I went all the way to Ethiopia to photograph these guys. It was just the most amazing experience. They live
Yes.
at very high altitudes, over 4,500
So
meters above sea level.
yeah, beautiful. So for our audience members, Ethiopia being in Africa is one of the highest countries in Africa. It is I think the average height is around 6,000 to 7,000 feet in
Mhm.
Ethiopia. Among this beautiful wolf, which I thought was a fox, when I was nicely chided by Latika, it's a wolf, beautiful animal. They also make fantastic coffee. Some of the best coffee in the world is in Ethiopia.
And they discovered coffee in Ethiopia.
There you go. So, and one of my reasons, I actually have a friend right now, Latika, who is stuck in Ethiopia, and he's going all around the national parks. He went in February for some work, and he's still there in Ethiopia. He decided not to come back because he doesn't want to quarantine.
Lucky
I,
guy.
that is the word I use. That is the word. He drinks Ethiopian coffee in the morning and Ethiopian beer in the evening. And I'm saying you're living the good life, my friend.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
what a beautiful photograph, Latika.
Thank you.
Wow, look at this.
Little red panda, North
Uh-huh.
Bengal, India.
This is
What
in
is
India.
this is in India? And I often say, I mean, there we go. We have koalas in Australia, and everybody says they're amazing. But what about these little munchkins? I mean, why don't we give them the love that they deserve and the attention that they deserve? I mean, they're just so
What
incredible.
what part of India are they from?
North Bengal.
From North Bengal. So
Hmm.
so is this the same? Is it close to this the Sundarbans? Would I
No,
be taken?
the Sundarbans is the delta. This is up
Uh-huh.
in the mountains, and these guys go all the way into northeast India, all on the Himalayan belt, and
Oh
into
wow!
Nepal.
Oh wow! Wow! Look at that! It's what a beautiful photograph. Hey, look at that. That's a cheetah, is it?
That's a cheetah.
And
Just make just making a kill, and this is in Botswana.
Botswana. What is that deer? Is that a not a dictic? I forget the name of that
No, gazelle. It's a gazelle.
gazelle. Gazelle. I'm sorry, I don't know my wildlife as well as you do, obviously.
Yeah.
Uh, oh, look at that.
Okay, so that was a jaguar who had just jumped into the water, and a fish
Yeah.
jumped up right in front of him, so he got splashed in the face. And this
Uh-huh.
is in the Amazon in Brazil um, 2 years ago.
Can you, for somebody like me who doesn't know, I see a lot of
Mhm.
similarities and between a jaguar and a leopard.
Oh,
I don't know, so please take us through for our audience through the differences. Some
so
of the main.
they're very different. The leopard is a much smaller cat. The
Okay.
jaguar is one of the most powerful cats that exist. It's
Okay.
actually got more power in its jaw than any other animal. It can
Yes.
the stuff very easily.
Yeah.
They look in size almost like a subadult tiger.
Okay.
Very stocky, very powerful shoulders,
Uh-huh.
and the pattern is very different.
Okay. So
Okay,
I mean,
to remember the differences,
uh-huh.
a cheetah has dots.
Yes.
Okay, a
Yes.
leopard has spots.
Okay.
The jaguar has a spot with a dot in the center.
Oh wow. Okay. Okay, I
Okay,
did not know that. I didn't know that that's the difference between a jaguar and it's so much. I knew that. I knew that they. I had heard somewhere, and I've seen countless movies of South American Maya and old historical movies around the Aztecs and the Mayans. I think the Mayans are where they had a lot of jaguars, and they show some of it, and they give themselves names inspired by jaguars. What a beautiful animal! And this is the
and
jaguar.
Yes.
This was again. You had mentioned. Please remind me again. Where in South America?
Pantanal. Pantanal,
Ah,
Brazil.
this is a lion.
That is a lioness.
Lioness. I'm
Yes.
happy to be corrected. Beautiful. Beautiful. So for our audience members, Latika is a widely published photographer. Her work has been shown in multiple newspapers and what have you. And, also, she's won a lot of contests, and you have a book, I believe, which is out.
That's right, more than one. But I'm currently working on a new book
Okay.
with a very dear friend of mine, Shivang Mehta. He's
Uh-huh.
a brand ambassador for Canon and an excellent wildlife photographer. And the book is
Uh-huh.
going to be on some of the bigger cats of the world. So 8 of the big cats dealing with the Africas, Americas, and Asia.
Wow. So will you be submitting a portfolio for that? Like in terms of would you be showing work or putting work that you already photograph, or would you be actually going and photographing
No,
again for?
we finished the photography, and we're
Uh-huh.
now going to be putting it all together. We are putting it all together right now.
Well, please let us know, and we'll share the links once it's
Perfect.
out, and
Of
we will be
course.
one of our audience members, and I will be one of the first customers if we are lucky to have that book.
Wonderful.
This is my favorite image. This is brilliant. I would love to know how you went about putting this together.
So this was a puma calf called Solo.
Uh-huh.
She was following her mother called Amber. They were running across the mountain, and the light just happened to be correct.
Uh-huh.
I have 2 images which are like this, and the ones before and the ones after look totally different. But
Wow.
it just happens. It just the way it happened.
Well,
So
the way it's been backlit is so amazing. It almost looks like this has been put together in Photoshop, which it isn't, because I can tell,
yeah,
and it's so. I mean, it's fantastic. Like the way to be able to take a photo. It's a lot of luck is involved in photography,
a lot
and
of love.
but I think rather than luck, a lot of persistence and actually sitting in a place, going back and again to the same place.
Yeah. But
Yeah, go ahead.
it's also about so it's not about formula. It's being able to adapt and take an
Uh-huh.
instant decision on what you want to do with your composition each time.
Uh-huh. I agree.
Okay.
Let's touch quickly about this, Latika. I know that
Mhm.
a lot of people come and talk about being wildlife photographers, and they
Mhm.
think that they can go to the jungle, take a photograph, and come back. But I know there are some very famous wildlife photographers from National Geographic and what have you, where they spend their years. They spend years taking one good photograph,
Yeah,
uh,
absolutely.
and it's not easy. It takes a lot
Yeah.
of patience.
So,
It
for
takes a lot of
instance, that
determination.
snow leopard picture that you saw, I
Uh-huh.
actually spent 6 weeks
There you
at
go.
that time up at minus 20 degrees every
Yeah.
day out to get that picture.
What
And
what what pa- what time of the year were you there in Ladakh?
February, March.
Right, it's one of the coldest times in
Yeah.
Ladakh to be
Yeah.
there in February evening. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ha. Wow. Tortoise.
A wise old Galapagos turtle.
It's a turtle. So what is the difference between a tortoise and a turtle?
A tortoise. Yeah, it is
It's
a
a
turtle.
tortoise.
Yeah.
So would I be mistaken? A tortoise lives on this
On the
on
ground.
on the ground, and a turtle will be in the sea, or
Yeah.
will be marine.
Yeah.
And a tortoise, this is in the Galapagos. I know the Galapagos for other imagery, iguanas mainly, but I haven't been. And they say that tortoises live for a very long period. Some have been here for over 100 years. Would I be correct in assuming that?
Absolutely. These are some of the oldest living creatures on Earth.
Uh-huh. The other day I read that they have found the world's the oldest living creature, which is not a plant, an animal, seems to be a Greenland shark, which they've
Yes.
estimated to be over 500 years old.
Yes, I read that too. Yeah.
Can you imagine sharks from the time of Akbar and Elizabeth doing the rounds?
Yeah, amazing. So I was reading this book about what the life of a tree is, and imagine how these old trees will be
Uh-huh.
treating the life of a human being. If there's a tree that's like 700 or 800 years old,
Uh-huh.
the life of a human being, which is 50 years, would mean like nothing, right? It's like we see a
Yeah.
butterfly and they see a human being. It's
Yeah.
the same sort of ratio. It's amazing.
Imagine the things that the animals have seen in their life. Wow.
Yeah.
So let's before we go through your other photograph, we have Malvika who's asked a question. Good
Mhm.
question. A lion appears much lazier than other male cats, tigers, cheetahs, jaguars, pumas, etc., who are more agile and aggressive. What makes them the king of the jungle?
Okay, so lions are hunting coalitions. They are coalitions of brothers,
Uh huh.
and a coalition of lions together can take on pretty much anything in the jungle.
Wow.
And they form the apex predator, so they're pretty much right at the top, which is why they call him king of the jungle. Also,
Uh,
the lion in Africa with their huge mane have a very overpowering personality, and when you have a coalition of lions roaring at you, it's just the most incredible experience. So that's why they call them the king of the jungle. Also, don't forget, in Africa there's no tigers, so the lion is the biggest cat there.
uh, am I correct to assume this, Latika, that the lioness actually puts in more work than a lion does because of the absence of a mane, or would I be mistaken?
No, everybody is doing different work.
Okay. Uh huh.
So sometimes even the lion will join in the hunt when he's
Uh
with the
huh.
family, but they
Okay.
also expend a lot of energy actually patrolling and protecting their family and their
Uh huh.
territory. So maybe you see lionesses hunting more to provide food for the cubs,
Uh
but
huh.
it's not that the lions don't hunt, and it's not that they do less work.
I remember there was a movie that came out, a true story about the Ghost in the Darkness was a movie in the late '90s,
Mhm.
and it had Val Kilmer and Michael Douglas about this railroad engineer who had to go and hunt. He had to go and shoot two lions who were
Mhm.
mainly in Sabo in Africa, which they were said are very, very aggressive lions, and they were man eaters of Sabo. I forget the actual term for it, and they have it's still in a museum, and they said that it was one of my favorite movies. It wasn't, I mean, it didn't do really well, but about how powerful a lion is, and that they have an almost
The ghost
human-like
of the
tendency.
darkness, no?
Yeah, Ghost in the Darkness. Yeah,
Yeah, very
it's
amazing.
it was shot very beautifully. It actually had an Indian actor in it. I think it was
Yeah,
Puri in it, I
yeah.
believe. A long time ago, that movie, great movie. I think there you go. We have here what beautiful image.
Mm.
This is again this is
I love.
a langur. Yeah, I was going to say langur.
Yeah,
I was getting confused between a rhesus macaque and this, so this is a
yeah.
langur.
This is a langur in Ranthambore.
Wow. Where is it?
Ranthambore.
Ranthambore. Okay. Ranthambore. Wow. Look at that.
Yeah. So I dive and I do underwater photography,
Uh
and
huh.
this was in the Galapagos at Darwin's Arch, which is just the most incredible place to dive in the whole world. At one point, I was diving with 400 plus sharks.
Wow. So they I done some research on sharks, and they get a very unfair reputation, and especially after the movie. We spoke about this in one of our earlier sessions on Monday. They get a very unfair reputation as man eaters in hunting for pleasure and killing them. I think after the 1978-77 movie Jaws, this
Mhm.
is a hammerhead shark. When you
Yes.
photograph this beautifully, look at that. It's almost like a decisive moment over here. Uh,
Yeah.
Tell me, you said you were swimming with sharks. Now, South Africa is known for their white sharks. I
Yes.
think off the coast of I forget where, South
Yeah.
Africa and Australia is where
Yeah.
you could actually go diving with them. So, how
Yeah.
was that experience for you when you were swimming with sharks?
So South African diving is very different to us because
Ah,
South African diving is cage diving.
okay.
You're in a cage. This, you're actually in the blue. You go into the ocean, you jump off into the ocean, and you're in the middle of nowhere with no land around. And you're in the blue with the sharks.
Do you have to wear the metal diving
Nothing.
suits or something? I remember. And and so, I mean, I would imagine that the hammerhead.
You definitely in cold water gear, you know, so you're wearing your wetsuit and all of that. No extra protection, nothing.
All right, and obviously you had your entire camera gear and with housing and what have you for this. So that would have been quite an elaborate setup to be able to take photos like this.
Yeah.
And also watching your oxygen, your tanks, and making sure everything is. I mean, hats off to you. I don't know too many people in India who are doing stuff like this.
Thank you. Thanks.
Beautiful. Wow, look at that. School of fish.
Yeah. And each of these guys is like, they can be between a foot and 2 feet or even 3 feet long. The tuna. Really big.
This is the tuna.
Yeah.
I believe in Japan you get tunas which sell for a lot of money. Who go people who a fresh tuna. I mean, they're huge.
Yes.
And they sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars. The fresh catch in Japan. I remember seeing a documentary once. So you've seen it up close. I mean, this is something that I would never have seen. Say again?
I swam into this. There's a lovely feature I did on this for Travel and Leisure. You can look it up.
We shall post all these links for all our viewers to see. Tell me, where was this? This is again in the same.
Yeah, this is all Galapagos.
Galapagos. This is in Galapagos. What a beautiful place. It's you know what, before you identify, we should wait for some of our audience members who are actually saying, guys, what can you identify this animal? I'll tell you, it's not a mammal, it's a fish. So please tell us what exactly this is. Or is this a mammal?
No, it's not. It's a fish.
It's a fish. Yeah, sorry for let's see if someone can identify. First person to identify would get a prize.
Nobody's even trying.
Let's. You're living the dream, Latika. What fabulous experiences! You're right. My mom is saying you're living the dream. And what a fabulous experience that you had. Fantastic. Wow, we have a winner. We have Lakshmi Narayan. A whale shark. You are correct, Lakshmi Narayan. Now we'll have to back up by giving you a prize. Please send us a message and we'll see what we can do about that, Lakshmi Narayan. Thank you so much. Jagmeet, you're very close. It is. It was almost a squid, then it turned into a really big whale shark. Can you tell us about the whale shark? I have some statistics on the whale shark. Latika, but why don't you go ahead and indulge us by telling us a little bit about the whale shark?
So the whale shark it's a shark. This one was about 16 meters long. They're huge. And she was a pregnant female. Come together in the Galapagos because the currents come from 3 directions, cold and warm currents, and they meet. And the water is really, really plankton rich. So they come in to feed here.
Okay.
And on that day, we saw about 8 of these whale sharks. They're totally harmless, but it's like a mountain coming at you. It was amazing, and it was dark, and we saw her looming out of the thing, coming straight at us. My guide went left, my buddy went right, and it was like this train passing under me. I mean, it was just amazing. They're hunted a lot. They've been subjected to a lot of culling. So endangered and in need of protection. Very, very gentle giants. Absolutely magical to see.
I did not know this, that they were endangered. Are they? What were the reasons that they are hunted, Latika?
For their meat.
Oh wow! I did not know people were consuming whale sharks. I mean, I know about whaling and the evils of whaling and what have you, but I did not know about this. They are also guys. They're not the largest animal, but they are definitely the largest fish in the sea. And Latika has, been lucky enough to see them in the wild. they're not going to see them, and it's a very rare occurrence. And we're very happy to have these photos with us. That's the end of our portfolio,
also
guys.
in India, by the way. We have them in India.
Am I correct to assume that most sharks, including white sharks, are in all the oceans, and you do see a lot of them in and around India?
Yeah, absolutely. You see sharks everywhere.
Because they migrate across different currents and what have you across the
And
ocean.
they live in the Indian Ocean and around in the Andaman Sea and all of that. So yeah.
So guys, if your next trip to Andaman, you may just be very lucky to find one in the right circumstances.
Beautiful sharks there. Beautiful sharks in the Andamans.
Yeah. So Shilpa Mishra has said whales are not fish; they are mammals. Is that a question, Shilpa? We know that they're not, but maybe Latika can explain why exactly this is called a whale shark.
It's because of the size. It's actually a shark. It's not a whale.
It is the largest animal in the world is a whale. I would believe that's a blue whale, and we had to study that in school. So, but they never spoke about the largest fish, and I got to know about this much later in life that the largest fish in the world is the whale shark, and it's actually quite harmless. They eat plankton. Am I correct?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Much like blue whales and other whales. Yeah. My wife is asking, you have nothing to show us about snakes?
Not in big, only 20. You gave me such a little number to show. How can I put everything in?
So Latika, tell us, where can we see more of your work? How does one go about looking at
website, on Facebook? I have an Instagram handle. Follow me there. All just Latika Nath, so that's easy to type.
So just search for Latika Nath on Instagram, Facebook, and what have you. Just Google the name, and all those images are going to come. She's very famous, so you'll get it there. So we have Prasenjit Chatterjee, who has asked a question, and he's assuming the largest is a basking shark. Is that correct? And if it's not, then can you tell us what is the difference
between
basking?
No, between what? Difference between what?
The largest fish or the largest shark?
No, the basking shark is also really, really big. But the whale shark is the largest. This goes up to 18 meters in size.
Wow, that's a big animal.
That's huge. It's huge.
That's a huge animal. Latika, for the remainder of our conversation, we have you here for another few minutes. Don't want to. You're busy doing other stuff. We're going to let your portfolio be there. We're going to let the whale shark be on the screen. Then maybe you and I can continue. You've spoken a lot about animal conservation and photography, and we're happy to have you. But you also can you speak a little bit about your role in animal and human conflict, especially in India, and how are you working with that?
So I've been working on resolving animal-human conflict for many years. My first real serious academic work was on this in the Rajaji area. I actually identified the areas of conflict between elephants and humans. By the creation of the Ganga Canal, by the location of the Ammo Dam, by the whole element of townships expanding and dividing the elephant population into two between Rajaji and Kober. So that was the first bit I did, and we did studies using GIS. This was done with the help of the Wildlife Institute.
Studying what? Sorry. Study using what?
With the help of the Wildlife Institute of India.
Okay, good. Okay, sorry about that. I don't for the rest of us.
This was part of a huge project that the Wildlife Institute was doing. The Wildlife Institute advises the government of India on what is happening. So this was all part of the work that they did.
Apologies for our audience. We haven't written her Latika's email address. Can you please, for the benefit of our audience, repeat your email address where people can reach you?
Yeah, it's Latika@latikanath.com.
Okay, let me, as you say that, Latika, indulge me as I write this, not.com. And yeah, is that correct? It should be on the screen right now.
Yes, absolutely correct.
Perfect, guys. So, guys, this is how you can reach Latika. We have people asking how they can get into wildlife conservation. Latika has already spoken about that, Shilpa. Please, when we recast this, please go and have a look at that. Or please contact Latika on one of her multiple different platforms, Instagram, Facebook, or please send her an email or website. She's happy to help you out. Yeah. So you moving on from the history started with in Rajaji National Park between humans
Mhm.
and elephants. But you have spent some time in central India as well, in Bandhavgarh, Kana,
Yes.
Madhya Pradesh, with the tiger habitat as well as humans. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Okay, so I've lived in Madhya Pradesh now for almost 25 years. Um, sort of just after I finished my doctorate, I realized that I didn't feel that I had the luxury of continuing with pure academic research,
Uh
because
huh.
I felt that I needed to do something hands on to stop the decline of the tiger populations. And the survival of tigers is dependent on local communities. So I started doing a lot of work with local communities.
Okay.
Um, I continued to do some of the work with the forest department on different projects, but
Okay.
made the community work my primary focus.
Okay.
And I started working on education, health, alternate energy, livelihood, generation, supplementing incomes for housewives, things like that, in the villages around the national park.
Uh huh.
And I also, of course, at the same time, did a lot of work talking about living peacefully with wildlife
Uh huh.
and finding ways to give economic benefits to the villagers from living in the wildlife's vicinity, so they felt that it was beneficial to them and not a problem.
Okay, so
So,
we have some questions coming. We will address them. I found it a very interesting point about alternative energy sources.
yeah.
We speak about. We have Lakshmi Narayan talking about the ill effects of coal mining, and whereas we won't get too much into the specifics about that because there's only that much you can do. It's a very interesting point about how about income sources, about the importance of buffer zones, I would imagine,
Mm.
wildlife corridors and buffer zones. And when you're making buffer zones, you actually, I mean, I just brought that up right now. So apologies for everybody else. What exactly is a buffer zone, and why is it important in wildlife conservation? So can you touch up a little bit about that? Maybe it's a slightly smaller topic for you.
Okay, so when you design a series of protected areas in India, you have a core area, which is this area which is supposed to be free of human presence, in the sense that you're not allowed to live in it, you're not
Uh-huh.
allowed to walk in it, you're not allowed to have any activities related to human livelihoods within that region.
Uh-huh.
Around this core area, you have another area which is a smaller width than the
Uh-huh.
national park, which
Uh-huh.
essentially think of as a egg, with the yolk as the core area and the white as the buffer zone around it, which
Uh-huh.
cocoons and shields the park from
Uh-huh.
the outside influences. But it's a multiple use area, so you
Okay.
can have villages in it, you can have some amount of minor forest produce being taken out
Uh-huh.
by the village panchayats, but you can't have huge development activities or industry or things like that. So it's really a buffer for the park between the outside world and all of the impacts, and
Uh-huh.
keeping it protected and shielded.
So a lot of times the tiger will leave its main core area and will go into buffer zone, then will move from one park to another. Has that
Tigers,
happened?
tigers don't recognize park boundaries.
Tiger does
Tigers,
not. Yeah.
no, it does not. It will walk, and that's why we have corridor connectivities and
Yeah.
corridors connecting patches of forest. And
Uh-huh.
tigers have been known to walk 200 or 300 kilometers from one
Wow.
place to the other, seeking new habitat or safe habitat.
What is the average circumference of or the range of a tiger in a day?
You mean how much does a tiger walk?
Yes.
Um, it depends on the tiger, but it can walk a lot. It can cover anything between 18 to 30 kilometers in a night.
I remember when we were sighting of all the places we took flights to Bandhavgarh, we took flights to Pench, and we were my wife and I, and we couldn't see tigers. And then I went for a short excursion up to Corbett, and I was not even I was just passing through Corbett, and we said, okay, let's take the evening safari. My wife wasn't there, and we took a jeep safari in, and I said, there's no tigers in Corbett. It's like just fake. And a tiger walked past us, and he just kept walking. And I said, I can't believe it. 10 years, and I had gone to the park for five times to a park to see a tiger in Madhya Pradesh. Highest concentration of tigers, I believe, is Bandhavgarh or Kana. And then I saw this tiger in Corbett, and huge male, and everyone was astounded by it. Let's come back to some questions, Latika. Adnan has very graciously. Adnan is a big trainer, Latika, and Adnan has hosted sessions for us in the past. He works on dog training, especially security and what have you. He has recently deployed his first working dog into animal and human conflict zones, where a Dogo Argentino, it's a large dog, to track and evade leopard and bears who have already killed over 4 people in the villages. So he's working with the Karnataka and Tamil Nadu Forest Department, is what I think.
So, Adnan, I'm working on a project where I would like to give homes to retired dogs. If you have any, the working dogs with the police and the army, and have 4 or 5 of them at each of our properties, I'll be in touch with you about that. Amazing.
So, Adnan, please send Latika an email. I have, after a lot of hard work, I have typed out the email address here on your screen. Please send her a message there, Adnan. And please, guys, please connect after this call.
That would be amazing.
And we have Malvika has asked a very simple question. Is it true that the number of tigers are increasing in India?
Yes. Absolutely.
Is it, there's the numbers that are thrown out. I believe in 1996, 97, there were these ads I used to see on TV, and I think it was important to see this.
The number game. We're not going to do the number game now.
Well, I appreciate that, Latika, because I don't know. We're coming into this cold. I think it's a topic of contention, so we won't dwell too much into it. Let's come up to an easier topic, which I'm surprisingly for our people we haven't touched on. How many dogs do you have, and what dogs do you have?
So we have. I'm down to bare minimum right now. I have only 2 dogs, and they're both Saint Bernards.
Oh wow! So what is the relationship between your Saint Bernards and your cats?
Caution, extreme caution. The dogs were 5 years old and they had never met cats. So we have to, ensure that they don't get into any strange situation. It's very unusual for me to have to deal with this, and I have to keep talking to the dogs because previously all my dogs and cats lived together. I had a Siamese cat and a golden retriever, and the Siamese cat used to literally go and push up my golden retriever's paw and curl up in the elbow under the chin to be warm in the winter. And they were just inseparable. I had an Irish setter who lived with my another Siamese cat. So they was totally inseparable.
Wow.
So yeah.
So I mean, it's fair to assume that you've grown up in a house full of dogs all your life, much like I have, dogs and different animals.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic that all the animals are kind of getting along.
Absolutely. I've had a pet hedgehog, an elephant. We brought up. We rescued 3 little peafowl chicks because the mother got killed by feral dogs, and we picked them up as the egg. They just hatched out of the eggs. And they would run in and out of the house and walk around the house. I've had dogs, and I've had rabbits, and I've had a crested serpent eagle. I've had a civet cat we rescued, a langur baby we rescued.
Uh-huh.
My uncle had rescued a cooler gibbon in Assam. So I've just always had animals in and around me.
Wow. So a civet cat is another animal which is very, very difficult to spot, I believe. It's
Yes,
very
yes,
elusive.
yes.
I've had the pleasure of seeing two civet cats in my life. And it's
Mhm,
one was in Bandhavgarh and
mhm,
on top of a tree, and then one was in Delhi. They are in nature reserves around Delhi, I believe.
mhm, mhm, mhm.
And it's actually a very, very elusive animal to see, and a lot of people don't know about that. We have my wife who's asked a question: what are your opinion about zoos, especially in India?
Oh,
Do you
that's not somebody called Musarrat Khan.
Yes, yes, that
Thank
that
you
someone
for
called
news.
Musarat Kaik is my wife, and uh,
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
she's a very, very strong woman who doesn't take my name, and that's perfectly fine by me.
wonderful.
So we have
Uh,
decided to rename ourselves Wangs. I'll give half my last name, and she'll give half her last name, and we'll call ourselves Wangs very soon.
that's good. Okay, okay. So, Bharat, what's my opinion of zoos? Um, I love a good zoo. Okay, I think some of the really good zoos across the world are doing amazing work. If you go
Uh-huh.
to Darrell Zoo or you go to the San Diego Zoo, absolutely mind blowing. I spent many, many hours in the London Zoo. I love zoos. I go to zoos everywhere in the world.
Uh-huh.
Having said that, I hate a bad zoo. I hate zoos which are not properly designed for animals but are little cages with the animal on solitary confinement going mad in frustration and rage at being trapped. So
Wow.
it's both ways. You know, it can be so good and it can be so bad. So it
Absolutely.
just depends on which zoo you're at. So I mean, like for instance, I went to the Hyderabad Zoo. That's a great zoo. The Delhi Zoo, I've grown up going into. I think Karan has too. There's some good bits. It could be a lot better now. I think
Yeah.
30, 40 years ago, maybe it was a better zoo for its time. But technology has changed, and we know how to do a better job. And I think
Yeah.
it's time that the Delhi Zoo moves from where it is to bigger spaces and has a better place for people to go to. So I
I used to
think
go
it's
go
one
ahead.
of
Sorry.
yeah, I think it's both ways. It can be good or bad.
Uh, Yeah, I completely agree. As a kid, we used to go to the zoo because of our relationship with the officials in the Delhi Zoo, and our proximity to it. We used to go there almost every second day. I mean, I used to go from the back, from the public, from not the public entrances, and for me, it was the most beautiful place because it seemed much larger than it was. The animals seemed happier. Now, I don't really go to the zoo that often anymore. I like to go once in 5 years, and that's only to the Delhi Zoo. And then you see the white tiger exhibit, which were tigers which were genetically recessed genes or something, which were rescued from the Maharaja of Patiala, I believe, in the 30s or
Reba,
40s.
Reba, Maharaja of Reba.
Okay, I'm sorry, I got that wrong. So, and they had that animal, and their stomachs are sagging and what have you. Maybe they need exercise, some kind of stimulation. They're not in the wild, and then I like going to the snake exhibit. At one point in my life, I wanted to be a herpetologist. I don't know why, but I like snakes, and we see the exhibits there, and I feel that yeah, you're right, Latika, I have to agree, maybe there it's in need of some improvement, especially when you look at the standards of other zoos across the world, San Diego Zoo being one of them. So I completely agree with that. Latika, thank you so much. Before we let you go, we may ask some more questions. So, guys, ask your question right now. Latika wants to talk about some of her future endeavors. She in the moment she is working on. She's on another project of hers, which is about talking about eight big cats, and she has experts from all around the world coming, and it's happening next week. It's obviously virtually. So, can you talk about that a little bit?
Okay, so we decided that what we wanted to do is actually talk about big cats and what is happening to them across the world. a lot of big cat conservation programs are dependent on tourism. And with the lockdown and its economic impacts, this is going to affect everything. It's going to affect the incomes for local communities. It's going to affect the funds available for conservation projects. It's going to affect livelihoods dependent on tourism.
Uh-huh.
So we decided that we would get together a group of friends from across the world and get them together for the first time ever to talk about the largest cats, the 8 of the largest cats in the world, and what is happening to them. Now, this will be a series of talks. They'll probably carry on the whole of next month. We'll be putting out links. Please come, join in, ask your questions. This is going to be an amazing time. There are going to be people from South America, Africa, and Asia all getting together and talking about this.
So these are some of the preeminent experts in their respective fields of animal conservation.
Yes, so there'll be scientists, academics, and people from the tourism sector.
Wow. And where do we, when you say where, how does one go about accessing this information?
I'll send you the links, and they'll be on YouTube, and they'll be available online. You can access it, and also on the website of FOMO No More. FOMO No More is the website of a friend of mine, and we've got together to do this as one of the things that we do in this time when people are stuck at home for COVID.
Okay, I think that's a fantastic opportunity for all of our audience members to go ahead and to check out this information sessions that Latika and the rest of her colleagues are going to be putting out. So, guys, please go ahead and check it out. When is it going to be the first one? When will be the first one out?
Sometime next week. I'll get the dates and I'll put it on.
And we at DogSpot are going to be putting it up on our Facebook profiles as well, among our different platforms, Instagram. So guys, please go check it out. Latika is doing great work. She is a very important figure in the world of animal conservation. Before we joined, she made me repeat it 3 times. She's and I'm going to say it properly this first time. She's a conservation ecologist and a conservation photographer. She made sure I get it right, and hopefully I got it right, Latika.
It's superb.
Okay, Latika, thank you so much for taking the time. We are so happy to have someone like you over here. We are very lucky, and we are hoping to talk to you again soon. And we wish you all the best in all your efforts in animal conservation and photography.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for watching us, guys, and stay tuned for our next session. It will be happening tomorrow and the day after that as well. Thank you so much, guys. Latika, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.